In this episode, we'll be talking with my good pal, Ginger Vieira, on everything you wanted to know about gestational diabetes. She's an expert and she's in the kitchen today, and we're so excited to have her. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. I am Chef Robert Lewis, the Happy Diabetic. Welcome to the internet's most delicious cooking podcast. I'm here in the kitchen getting ready to explore a healthy diabetic lifestyle. I want to take the mystery out of healthy cooking, explore some amazing foods, and my diabetic journey with all my successes and all my challenges. Let me help you live your best happy diabetic lifestyle. So welcome to the kitchen. And if you're new to the show, I am so happy you're here. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Happy Diabetic Kitchen podcast. One of my best friends is on the pod today to talk about a topic that really is kind of misunderstood from many people who get diagnosed with diabetes. And the topic is gestational diabetes. So in the Happy Diabetic Kitchen today is my good buddy, Ginger Vieira. She publishes articles and videos that educate and empower people facing all the daily challenges of diabetes and other chronic illnesses. And Ginger is an expert in type 1, type 2, LADA, gestational, and pre-diabetes. Ginger, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Chef. Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you. I love the glasses. I know listeners can't see the glasses, but I love the glasses.
They're kind of reddish. I know. I like them.
Yeah.
So, Ginger, let me ask you a question. Are you ready to get happy?
Yeah. I mean, I was already happy. I'm ready to get happier if that's what you're offering. Let's do it.
I am. Well, Ginger, why don't you fill in the blanks? Did I miss anything in your introduction that you want to share with all the happy diabetics out there?
I'll preface that I have 2 children and 3 dogs, and I'm sure one of them is going to be too loud during this call.
No worries.
And it's school vacation. So part of my own background includes having been through pregnancy twice. Now, I have type 1 diabetes, of course, but it's funny when you go through pregnancy with type 1, most of the doctors really only know gestational diabetes unless you get a specialist. So I'm very familiar firsthand with how you're treated in the healthcare system with gestational. But I've lived with type 1 for 25 years. I write books and make articles and videos like you mentioned, and you can find more from me at diabetesnerd.com.
And we will list all those links in the show notes so people can, as soon as this podcast is over, come and look for you. It'd be awesome. So, Ginger, let's get right into it. How would you explain gestational diabetes to a pregnant woman newly diagnosed with the condition?
Gestational diabetes develops when your body's level of insulin resistance becomes high enough that your body cannot keep up with your body cannot produce the amount of insulin that you need to keep your blood sugars in a safe, healthy range for you and that growing baby. And insulin resistance is a term you hear a lot in, general media these days. We all can experience temporary levels of insulin resistance, whether you have diabetes or not. If you're really stressed out, you're going through a divorce, your level of insulin resistance is going to go up, which means your body needs to make more insulin to do the same job to manage healthy blood sugar levels. In gestational diabetes, there's a whole bunch of factors that can cause your body's insulin needs, your daily insulin needs, to go up and can cause insulin resistance, which means you are not able to produce enough insulin or use the insulin as well that you're making. So you need help.
Okay.
That's my simple one.
Yeah, no, that sounds very logical. So, eating is a big part of diabetic health for people living with diabetes, the amount of carbs and all that that goes into it. So, are there any primary or dietary eating goals for managing gestational diabetes?
Well, I would step back a little bit. If you think about all the things you've heard about type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes, all those factors and lifestyle habits are the same things that put you at risk of gestational. So, what you eat is a huge part of gestational diabetes, just like it's a huge part of type 2. So, but it also is how you exercise, your daily habits. One of the women I had a neighbor who had gestational diabetes, and she was drinking soda every day. Now, does that mean that soda is the worst thing in the world? There's room for it, right? I eat chocolate every day, but her body could not keep up with the demands that soda was putting on her. Now there's many other women who can drink soda during their pregnancy and have no problem keeping their blood sugar in range. So there's all these contributing factors, and some of them are in your control and some are not. And what you eat is absolutely the biggest thing you can do, and exercising every day. I don't know if I got away
Yeah,
from what you really wanted me to answer there.
no, I think let's come back to that in another way, but I think you're touching on some very good points. Exercise. Let's talk a little bit of that because I think a lot of people often think that it's only food that's really impacting, but
Yeah.
what about exercise?
So exercise affects you immediately and long term if you're consistent with it. And the end result of both is that you need less insulin when you are active. But if you're active every day and now you've kind of, not permanently, but you've set a new standard of your body and how many calories you burn every day, your metabolism is more efficient. Your metabolism is burning more, right? Even at rest. And so you need less insulin because exercise improves and increases how much sugar your cells take up from your bloodstream. So, to give you a really specific example, if I'm going to eat an apple
Okay.
with peanut butter as a person with type 1 diabetes, and I'm just going to sit on the couch for the rest of the day after eating that apple and peanut butter, I might take 4 units of insulin to help me manage my blood sugar with the apple. If I'm going to eat that apple and peanut butter and then walk my dog 3 miles, I would only need 2 units of insulin, right? So there's a
Hmm.
dramatic impact of exercise on how much insulin your body needs. And it doesn't matter if you're diabetic or not. And people who are not even pre-diabetic but aren't exercising, their insulin resistance is gradually increasing to the point of eventually potentially becoming pre-diabetic, right? So
Hmm.
it's definitely factor number 2, the biggest thing that you can control to prevent gestational.
If you are diagnosed with gestational, is it typical that you would be prescribed insulin?
Not necessarily. And
Okay.
usually it takes a little while to get to the point of where they're going to prescribe insulin. They're going to try because insulin is really complicated. It's it's not a simple just take some and go on your way. 1 second. Girls, go somewhere else for the love of God. Violet, get down and go upstairs. If you could see what it's like she treats this exercise thing over here like monkey bars. I'm like, can you do that anywhere else, please?
I love it. Can we leave that in the podcast?
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
if you're pregnant right now and you're listening to this, my children are 7 and 10, and they're adorable. But holy moly, it's school vacation week. They've done so well, but they're driving me crazy right now. Okay, so will you be prescribed insulin? They try to avoid prescribing insulin as much as possible because it's so complicated. What they're going to do first is encourage you to make changes through your diet and exercise habits, right? And I want to touch on that really quickly in that you don't have to
Hmm.
go nuts. You don't have to stop eating all the things. And if you do go on some really strict diet and your blood sugars are still high, It's a sign that you don't have gestational. You might actually have type 1 diabetes that is being highlighted because of pregnancy, but we'll get to that a little
Okay.
after. Yeah. So that's the first kind of line of defense is diet and exercise, right? And when I say exercise, I mean, it's hard to exercise when you're pregnant, especially in the last trimester. You don't need to do anything crazy. Walk twice a day for 30 minutes every day during your pregnancy. If you can do that, your body will thank you, your blood sugars will thank you, your weight will thank you. I mean, it's just good for every part of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Makes sense.
yeah, I don't think you have to do anything really intense to get the benefits. So if diet and exercise doesn't have an impact enough to get your blood sugars into a safe range, then the next thing that they're going to probably try is metformin. Metformin, as you probably know, right, is
Mm-hmm.
the most
Yeah.
commonly prescribed drug for type 2 diabetes in the world. Some people can tolerate it really well. I take it as a type 1. And some people can't tolerate it at all. And when I say can't tolerate, it gives them basically just terrible diarrhea and
Mm.
stomach pain.
Yeah, I've taken it since day one, which is almost
Really?
3 decades, and
Wow.
I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah. Some people,
Yeah.
I think, just instantly are fine with it. And if you're not fine with it, you know right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But what it does is tell your liver to produce less sugar, and that can help bring your blood sugars down. It
Mm-hmm.
heightens also your sensitivity to insulin. So that
Right.
can be sometimes enough for people. That needs to definitely be taken in conjunction with attention to your diet and exercise habits. Right? You can't just take metformin. Metformin is not powerful enough to just cancel
Right.
out a can of soda. Right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
then if metformin isn't working well enough to get your blood sugars down, then they might start putting you on either probably rapid acting insulin to take with meals and potentially long acting insulin.
As a type 2 diabetic, I mean, something that I really focus on because I take mealtime insulin are my sugar spikes, spikes and dips. So, how critical and how important is that to watch during your pregnancy?
Yes.
Is that a concern?
Yes, it is the biggest concern. That is why gestational diabetes and type 1 diabetes and type 2 during pregnancy are such a big deal and put you in this put you in this category of high risk pregnancy. Because high blood sugars before you're pregnant, particularly like that year before you're pregnant, and high blood sugars during your pregnancy increase your risk of complications, increase the risk of um, birth development issues, abnormalities. I mean, and you could get into very specific things. I don't have them all memorized.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's all
and
right.
then
Yeah.
when you're actually pregnant, it increases your risk of things like preeclampsia, which can be really scary. I think in my second pregnancy, I was actually in preeclampsia, but my blood pressure is so low normally that my preeclampsia blood pressure, preeclampsia is defined by high blood pressure. I was still within normal, but for me it was
Mm,
high, and so they
mm.
dismissed it. Now you can have preeclampsia and have relatively normal blood sugar levels too, but it increases your risk. So
Yeah.
the number one biggest thing with high blood sugars when you're pregnant, that extra sugar is extra sugar for the baby, right? The baby was
Mm-hmm.
already getting nutrients through the umbilical cord that it needed for normal development. Then it's also getting extra sugar from your bloodstream. And then the baby produces extra insulin for that extra sugar. And that insulin is going to store that extra sugar as body fat. So
Mm.
babies born to women with any type of diabetes have a much higher risk of being born larger, chubbier, right? And we love a chubby baby, but we want them to be really chubby after they're born and they've started eating a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's that larger baby then leads to the risks of other things. And this is one of the reasons why women with any type of diabetes are, I don't want to say forced, but unless you really push back, you're going to be told that you have to be induced at 38 to 39 weeks instead of letting your body go into labor naturally.
And when you make that statement, are you saying you should resist that, or are
No,
you
I didn't
okay?
resist it. I know
Okay.
there's some women who I was desperate for my C-sections by the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
But I have a friend who's had 4 pregnancies. She's really good at being pregnant. I was not. And she really didn't ever want to be told that she couldn't just wait for her body to go into labor naturally. So when they said, "Hey, it's time to schedule your induction or a C-section," she just ignored them.
Right. Right.
And but she, I don't encourage that because it does. She's had successful pregnancies. That's great. Her body's really good at it. The thing you need to remember is that you don't know how your body is going to respond during pregnancy. You've never been under this kind of stress before. Your body has never done this before, right? With your first pregnancy.
Hmm.
And it does not matter how fit and healthy you are, you could still have things go wrong during pregnancy and during delivery that you have never even knew were complications of anything. You know what I mean? Like, so just keep that in mind that they are trying to protect you and your baby when they're encouraging that
Mm,
induction
that's a
date or
that
C-section.
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So if you're diagnosed with gestational diabetes, what would be a few things absolutely to get on the bandwagon? I mean, we know that they should be testing their blood sugars, correct?
Well, it depends on their healthcare team. They might not
Okay.
be given instruction. Should they? Yes. Will they be given any information on that? Not necessarily.
Right.
No. So if your healthcare team does not say, "Here's a glucometer," and they get you a prescription, yada, yada, demand one. And if you can afford it, go get a CGM too. And you might be able to get it covered during your insurance with your insurance, but
Hmm.
they likely will say no unless you're on insulin with gestational. You
Yeah.
just won't qualify. But you can get a CGM over the counter for basically the same price as a copay at the
Mm.
pharmacy. You can get the Dexcom Stello, and
Oh
I
yeah, sure.
I absolutely would encourage it because you're going to have so much more understanding of what's going on and what's causing your blood sugars to be high. When are they not high? And again, if they're always high, something's wrong. If you're doing
Hmm.
all the things you can and your blood sugars are still high, something's not right. And I
Right.
want to can we talk about misdiagnosis?
Let's do it. This is a perfect segue into that.
Okay. All right. So I spend a lot of time every month interviewing people for a company that is developing a DNA test kit that is trying to identify with an easy test the difference between type 1 and type 2 based on your genetics. And it is astounding how many people in this country are misdiagnosed with type 2 or gestational in their 20s and 30s and 40s because the healthcare system still thinks that type 1 diabetes is a childhood disease. But more than 50% of people who develop type 1 are already in adulthood. Now, pregnancy can absolutely be, and I mean, I've interviewed so many of these gestational diabetes misdiagnoses stories. Pregnancy can absolutely be one of the stressors on your system that drives your immune system in type 1 diabetes to start attacking your pancreas enough that your blood sugars rise. So, for example,
Mm.
my type 1 diabetes was really kind of triggered by the flu when I was 13. Now, the flu didn't give me diabetes. Pregnancy doesn't give you diabetes. You were kind of born with this genetic setup, and then the attack on your pancreas is really small until it's suddenly not so small. And in children, that attack is really aggressive, and the symptoms come on right away, and it's diagnosed usually within a couple months because you're so sick so fast. In adults, like a 30-year-old woman who's pregnant, the attack tends to be very slow. So it can look like gestational or type 2 diabetes for years. And you can end up really frustrated for a very long time with blood sugar levels that won't come down even though you're working so hard. Or they'll come down at first.
Mm.
You started metformin, the metformin seemed like it was helping, and then suddenly it just like isn't helping anymore. And you're so frustrated and you feel like you're doing something wrong. And you're barely eating because everything seems to spike your blood sugar. Your doctor, this is not on their radar. And diabetes organizations are trying to increase awareness of this because these misdiagnoses are really dangerous. And there's actually a woman in the UK who died postpartum because she was diagnosed with gestational. They told her once the baby's born, it'll go away, don't worry about it. Nobody checked her blood sugar after the baby was born. They just assumed it went away. And she was complaining to them about how exhausted she was. But they said, honey, you just had a baby. Of course you're exhausted. And she was
Mm.
actually in stage 3 type 1 diabetes.
Wow.
And she died from diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA.
Hmm.
Because everyone dismissed it as postpartum stress. So in the US, there is a protocol after the baby's born to very specifically come back. I think it's 3 or 6 months and have your A1C done, or have some type of assessment of your blood sugar levels done to see how you're doing. Because gestational can also evolve into type 2 if it is
Hmm.
related to your metabolism and not an autoimmune disease like type 1.
Right. Mm.
So you need to keep an eye on your blood sugars. Don't wait for your healthcare team to do it. It's not that expensive these days to just get some test strips and a meter. There's a lot of companies where you can get them now without health insurance, and they're really
Hmm.
affordable. Diathrive is one. That's the first one that's coming to my mind. PIP is one. Um, get one if your health insurance company isn't
Yeah,
already.
Diathrive is good company.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. And then how often should they be testing? I mean, I know for me, I test multiple times a day. I have a CGM, but I'm really looking at what my blood sugars look like before I exercise, after I exercise, before I eat, after I eat. I'm trying to get a baseline of what's happening. And
Yeah.
I work with a lot of people when I say, how often do you test? Oh, once a day.
Right.
you know
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not enough.
it's not the most pleasant thing to put a guillotine poking device on your finger,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it is your little laboratory that gives you so much great information. What would be your
Yeah. I
recommendation?
mean, so I want to preface this with that if this is gestational, it's temporary and it's worth it. You need more than once a day information. So 4 times a day, definitely.
Mhm.
Those times would be first thing when you wake up in the morning, because that tells you that number is really important before you've eaten anything. It tells you how well your body is managing your blood sugar while you're sleeping and you didn't just eat. So if you're waking up with a high blood sugar, something's wrong, right? If you're
Mhm.
waking up high, that means that you're definitely high after every meal. So you either need to start metformin or start insulin, right? Depending on where you're at in that medication journey already. And I know insulin syringes, I know that's really scary, but what's much scarier are the complications and the
Mm.
risks that develop because of high blood sugars during pregnancy to you and the
Right.
baby.
Right.
And if you can remember that it's temporary, provided it isn't actually type 1 diabetes in disguise, as
Right.
you know. Um, so 4 times a day really shouldn't be a big deal. And if I was to hear someone whine about that, I'd say, you know what? I know 6-year-olds who do this all day long for
Mhm.
the rest of their lives.
Oh,
So
there you go.
get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unmanaged diabetes is a problem. Managed diabetes is not a problem.
Right. Managed diabetes is a lot of work, as you and I
Right.
know, but your life
Hmm.
can be awesome if you just
Right.
embrace what you got to do and carry on.
Yeah. So, can we just chat a little bit about food choices? Like,
Yeah.
I read somewhere that said protein, like too much protein during pregnancy is not good if you have gestational diabetes. Ever heard that?
Did it? Well, there's a couple reasons they might be saying that. Did it say why? Do you
No,
remember?
I don't recall.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
anybody, when you consume a lot of protein in one sitting, your body can't actually make use of all that protein in terms of breaking it down into amino acids. You only need so much amino acids in one sitting. So, your body is going to break down the other protein into glucose. And then that
Mm.
glucose is going to either get stored in your liver for backup fuel, or it's going to get stored as body fat with extra insulin. So I would guess
Mm.
that why they're saying that is because, like I used to be a power lifter, right? I ate a lot
Hmm.
of protein every 3 hours throughout the day. I had to dose a lot of insulin for meals that looked relatively low carb, like a steak and broccoli, because my body didn't need, that full steak just for the protein, right? So I had to
Makes
count
sense.
a lot of that low carb protein as impact of glucose.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you shouldn't eat protein, a lot of protein if you're on a lower carb diet, which, I don't endorse keto diets during pregnancy. I'd like to think of it more as being really carb mindful.
Mm.
I'm currently in my life as a type 1, and this is how I ate during pregnancy. I save the carb that matters to me most, like emotionally, right? Like the one I'd feel deprived and kind of crazy without, which is obviously chocolate. I
Hmm.
save that for the end of the day. And I do eat a giant apple. I eat some type of fruit, usually a giant Honeycrisp apple in the afternoon every day. And then my dinners tend to be lower carb, so the carbs are coming from non-starchy vegetables. Tonight I am having pizza, but that's a nice treat. So it really is about all whole.
Right. And everything in moderation. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to bring up the apple because I get a lot of questions about, well, there's so much sugar in an apple and, I shouldn't be eating fruit.
Yeah, I know there's
You
people don't
know,
even understand that like oatmeal is also broken down into sugar. Your grandmother's
hmm
homemade millet bread. That's carbohydrate that is broken down into sugar. That whole wheat pasta, I'm sorry, but that unless it really is some fancy whole wheat brand from Italy, it's just flour.
right.
They
It's pure carbohydrate.
and they probably dyed it brown so it looks extra whole. You know what I
They
mean? Like,
probably did. Right.
yeah, you can't trust anything in this country. So
Right.
more what your goal would be is how can I eat more real food? And that includes fruit. Now, if you're checking your blood sugar and you notice that, like, whoa, my body cannot handle an apple at lunch, I go high. If I have the apple at breakfast, no big deal. Or if I have the
hmm
apple by itself, I
hmm
go really high. If I have the apple with peanut butter or cheese or cottage cheese, right? Protein and fat that slows down the breakdown of that apple, then no problem. And
Yeah.
personally, if I ate an apple straight without fat and protein, it's going to spike my blood sugar significantly more than if I eat it with peanut butter.
Mm.
And that's the same for gestational. So if you are going to eat fruit, pair it with a healthy source of fat and protein, like nuts is another option, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
place.
That's a really good strategy.
Yeah. But start with whole food, just less processed junk and more whole food, and stop going to Starbucks. Stop buying the crap at Starbucks. Am I allowed to say that? Are they going to sue us?
You you are. Can you be more specific? Like the
Hmm.
flavored latte, like caramel macchiato, whipped
Ugh.
creamy things.
Yeah, just stop. Just stop getting those, even when you're not pregnant. Those are
Right.
not helping you. Those are not
Right.
helping you. Uh,
Right.
And even if you get the sugar free one, that sugar free stuff is filled with sugar alcohols. It does affect your blood sugar and it's terrible for
Yeah.
your gut health. Terrible. It's pure chemicals. When I was pregnant, prior to pregnancy, I had, I'm 39 today. My first pregnancy, I think I was 28. And around age 27, I quit drinking all diet soda in preparation for pregnancy because I was kind of hooked on it, like many diabetics are. I had a Diet Coke
hmm
or a Fresca probably every day. And many people might not know Fresca is basically diet soda. They just don't label it, right? But it's got plenty of aspartame in it. And all the research on aspartame and your health is paid for by the American Beverage Association, which is just code for Pepsi and Coke. So I didn't want any of that junk in my body during pregnancy. And what I discovered when I finally quit drinking it was that even a sip of it today is like, ugh, all I taste is chemicals. Now,
Mm-hmm.
can I give you some like legit measurement on how that affects your health or your pregnancy? No, I cannot. But if you go and look at research that is independent, that is not paid for by the ABA on aspartame, there's plenty that says it increases insulin resistance and your risk of type 2 diabetes, which also means your risk of gestational. Gestational
Mm-hmm.
diabetes is basically type 2 diabetes that developed just in pregnancy.
Right.
So anything that applies to type 2 makes sense for gestational. And I would really encourage you to just try to remove more of the junk out of your diet.
Don't put it in your shopping cart.
Yeah, and just see, I mean, if the idea of quitting your Diet Coke is so overwhelming, just try for 1 month. Quit Diet Coke and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Ginger, one of my favorite things that, if my memory is correct, that you helped me learn about was this app called Go Coco.
Oh yeah, I love Go Coco.
Yeah, and I interviewed the dietitian and the founder of that company, and we use it all the time. I mean, it's a great
Good.
way to really learn about what you're eating. So I don't work for the company; they're great people. I love them a lot. Go Coco
Yeah.
at the App Store. I would make that part of your shopping routine. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. I took the Go Coco. So I worked for them briefly, just with a little consultant work. And I took the Go Coco app to the chips aisle. And I was
Hmm.
trying to find a chip that Go Coco considered healthy. Now, for anybody listening, it basically has this huge system in it that analyzes all the ingredients and the number of additives and basically all the fake stuff that indicates a highly processed food. And it has all of this in its database. So I scanned the things that were obviously really unhealthy, like cheese balls, right? And I
Hmm.
scanned the things, I went to the far end of the chips aisle where all the health food chips are. And I was really blown away by how unhealthy those things actually are. They're still just processed junk,
Right.
right?
Right.
They just
Right.
have very earthy branding. That's
That's
it.
right. That's
That's it.
exactly right. That's a
Yeah.
great way to put it. They're
Yeah.
they're they're really good at fooling us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the
Well, hey Ginger, I got a couple questions. I have a couple questions from
oh
a
yeah, let's
listener.
do it. Yep.
Can we take them? All right.
Hmm.
So this is from Lauren, and Lauren says, "What can I do, if anything, during my gestational diabetes to lower my risk of type 2?"
Eat less processed junk. Eat more whole foods. Stop drinking sugar. Drink more water, tea, seltzer. I got a seltzer right here, right? Things that are naturally 0 calories. More veggies and get moving every single day. A common thing I find in people who struggle with their weight and with insulin resistance is, compared to the people in my life who don't, right? There's this, the people who are not struggling with their weight and insulin resistance, they've already embraced that daily movement is as important as brushing their teeth. Versus for someone who's struggling, I watch them go in and out of having exercise be part of their life. And as soon as something kind of
Hmm.
disrupts their routine, the exercise goes out. As soon as life becomes a little
Yeah.
stressful, the exercise is gone. And you've got to just embrace it. Like, before I sit down and watch my show every night, have I gotten my workout in? And if you haven't, that comes first. You know what I mean? Like, you just prioritize it. I watch my show on the treadmill. You know what I mean? So make it a priority, and it's got to last after pregnancy, because if you stop doing all those
Hmm.
things that helped you manage gestational, you're nearly basically on a guaranteed path for type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw out portion control
Yes.
as a critical lifestyle way of eating moving forward.
Yeah. 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 I mean, my diet's not perfect. I believe in 80/20. I believe in 80% really good whole choices and 20% treats.
Yeah.
And that keeps you from being deprived. It keeps you from going on crazy restrictive diets that don't last. Look for that 80-20 approach. And I have a free
Yeah.
guide actually on my website that you can
Okay.
download. Yeah.
Awesome. And we'll list again, though, we'll list your website and all the information in the show notes. Hey, one more quick question from
Yeah.
Marley, who
Yeah.
says, what is your favorite this, not that food or meal ideas?
So to remove pasta from any meal, I could go the rest of my life without pasta. And what I do instead is I get bean sprouts. So they come in like a bag. They're kind of near the lettuce and the carrots in the grocery store. They don't have a lot of flavor, which is great for people who are a little picky. I even fed them to my husband's friend who was like, he only eats like two types of vegetables. He was really nervous about this. And he was like, oh, those are really good. So you take bean sprouts already ready to go. You don't have to chop anything. You take a sweet onion. I prefer, if you like any type of onion, chop that up so it's kind of long and skinny, as long as an onion can be. And then combine that with a cabbage. So you take a cabbage. I know it's a little, if you don't know how to cut a cabbage, YouTube it, but you can then take the cabbage and kind of cut that so it's either in little squares or in long and skinny too. Just hack at it with your biggest knife. You know what I mean? Cut out the center. That part's not very fun to chew on. It's like someone's earlobe or something. But all the other stuff. So then and you could also throw in a bell pepper in there. Cut that long and skinny, or some already shredded carrots. That's easy. And you steam saute it, which means I'm putting in a little water, putting the cover on until it's mostly tender, right? And then I take the cover off, add maybe a teeny bit of olive oil, and then some seasoning. Might just be salt and pepper, and you might already have a sauce that you want to go with your meatballs, but you don't need pasta to put your meatballs or whatever it is, your turkey sausage, whatever you're putting on there. Get the vegetables in instead. They shouldn't be an accent. They should be like the main part of the plate.
I know the ADA recommends, and I really like this visual, is a quarter protein, quarter starch, and half your plate in vegetables.
Yeah.
I think if you can attain that, that's admirable. But I love that dish you just did. Maybe I'll try to recreate that recipe, put it on the website, and we could just mess with that. That sounds
I have
amazing.
some photos of it.
Do you
I
like to
have some
cook?
photos. Yeah, I love cooking and baking.
Yes.
I don't follow, I'm not good at following like complicated recipes. Like I don't know how to make a reduction, but I know how to cook all the veggies and make really yummy meals. But I don't know my mother was terrible at like,
Nice.
I got it from her. We just do what we want instead of following a recipe. And I look at a recipe, I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Why? I don't want to do it that way. And then I can't.
Right. I'm often the same way. Do you have a favorite food?
I mean, besides chocolate truffles from Snowflake Chocolates, I'd say
Oh my goodness.
honey crisp apples with
Yeah.
really ground peanut butter from the Yuppie health food store. We call it Wealthy Living. It's called Healthy Living, but it's so expensive. But one of the main things
Yeah.
I buy there.
Yeah.
I like that meal completes me. And if I was if I was stranded on an island, I know that meal would carry me through if I could
Yeah.
have it every day.
Ginger, what are you most proud of in the work that you do in this space?
So my pregnancy book for women with type 1 diabetes is still today the only book just on pregnancy with type 1. And I get messages every week from people thanking me for that book. And then my exercise book, I get messages or videos and I get tagged in them because they're going for a walk and they prepared their blood sugar in a way they'd never had before because they read my book. That is what, like, if I won the lottery tomorrow, what I would do with my free time is just write 100-page guides for people on really niche topics within diabetes. I'd occasionally write some other topics, maybe like how to raise your kids so they don't drive you crazy. I don't know if I'm doing too well at that today. She's an
I
but
know
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good. It's really good. Well, Ginger, before I would love to play a quick game with you, which is kind of
Okay.
typical in the kitchen here when we come back. But anything else you want to add that we haven't talked about on this topic of gestational diabetes?
Get moving, start eating more real food, start studying your relationship with food, and start making changes. You do not have to be perfect to make an improvement.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, everybody, when we come back, we're going to put Ginger in the hot seat and play the game we like to call around here the 411. So there'll be big prizes, Ginger. These will be easy questions for you to answer. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back. Are you ready to take control of your diabetes and health without sacrificing any flavor? Welcome to the Happy Diabetic Cooking Academy. If you're living with diabetes or just looking to make healthier choices in the kitchen, this is the place for you. Imagine delicious, easy to make meals designed to keep your blood sugars in check without giving up the foods you love. With step-by-step video lessons, expert nutrition tips, and a community of like-minded food lovers, the Happy Diabetic Cooking Academy will help you feel confident in the kitchen and excited about every single meal. Join today and start cooking with joy, flavor, and health in mind. Visit happydiabetic.com/academy. That's happydiabetic.com/academy to sign up now. Welcome back, everybody. We've got Ginger Vieira in the rapid fire 411 seat. Here's what's going to happen, Ginger. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you simply choose your preference. For example, butter or olive oil, riding a bike or hiking, that kind of thing.
Okay.
No pressure. Here we go. Olive oil or canola oil?
Olive oil.
Watermelon or honeydew?
Oh, honeydew. But I love both of those.
Fried eggs or scrambled?
Fried.
Grilled steak or grilled fish?
Oh, steak.
Chunky or smooth peanut butter?
Chunky.
Of course. You know, I just want to get off on a little tangent a second.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't like chunky peanut butter. I don't get that whatsoever.
Wait, can I tell you?
Okay, Valentine's Day or St. Patrick? Yes.
I got to tell you about something on peanut butter. Are you ready? Okay.
Let's hear it.
If there is like a really earthy health food store in your area, see if they have one of the machines where you press the button and right before your eyes, the peanuts get grinded down into peanut butter, and it's not chunky like Skip Chunky, which is also delicious, but there's nothing else added to it. I add my own salt. It is literally the peanuts grinded down right in front of you into the tub, and it doesn't separate. You don't even have to keep it in the fridge. And it's kind of got this grittiness to it that's totally different than the natural peanut butter in the grocery store. If you can find some, try it. That's all I got to say.
Okay, I've seen those machines all over. That's really great advice.
Try it.
Okay, Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, is neither an option? I use Valentine's Day as an excuse to buy myself
neither's an option.
truffles. I would use Valentine's Day to get myself a box of truffles.
Love it. Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookies and cream, but I'm not allowed to eat it because I have celiac. So the next one would be strawberry with lots of rainbow sprinkles.
Ooh, I'm a strawberry with hot fudge guy. Okay, coffee or tea?
Decaf coffee.
Roller coasters or merry-go-rounds?
Roller coasters.
Okay, not me. I need a merry-go-round. I don't like heights.
No.
Okay, finally, if you could break bread with anyone, past or present, who would that be? And I will even cook for you.
Oh, amazing. Okay. It would be my grandfather. He died about 20 years ago, and he was one of my favorite people growing up. But I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so he was 91 when he died. So I feel like I didn't ever really know him as an adult, you know. And he's a really cool guy. He was a silver mining. He ran a silver mining company. He's in the National Mining Hall of Fame. He built himself up from total poverty. And he had like Paul Newman vibes. People thought he was famous this one time. We were in a restaurant and they were like, "Who is that?" I was like, "It's my grandfather." They thought he was a celebrity. He was just incredible. And I didn't get enough time with him because our age difference was 70 years, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ginger, tell everybody again where they can find you so they go there right away.
Diabetesnerd.com. Check it out.
Okay. Perfect. Ginger, thank you for being on the podcast today. It's always great to see you. Always great to have you. This topic, I think, is impactful, and I'm sure people have learned a lot and can't wait to put some of your ideas in practice.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Chef.
Ginger, have a great rest of your day. And like all the suggestions that we've talked about today, remember to consult with a healthcare professional for your personalized advice and guidance tailored to your specific needs and medical history. One size does not fit all. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice. The views expressed on this podcast may not be those of the host or the Happy Diabetic Kitchen. Always consult your medical team if you're planning on making any changes to your health plan, medication, lifestyle, or anything going on with your diabetes. Remember, I'm not a doctor, a certified diabetic educator, or a dietitian of any kind, although I am a father of 3 amazing kids, Attila, Dracula, and Frankenstein. Well, that does make me a psychiatrist of sorts. Well, my mother wanted me to be a doctor. Does that count? And if you're loving the podcast, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss one single episode. The Happy Diabetic Kitchen is made from scratch, seasoned with love, cooked to perfection. Thanks everyone for listening, and our theme music is by the Happy Diabetic Kitchen Band, and of course our kitchen mascot cat, Tucker. Remember everybody, this year better than last year. This month better than last month. This week better than last week, and this day better than yesterday. And let me leave you with this thought. Julia Child once said, "People who love to eat are always the best people." I agree, Julia. Remember, my friends, no one loves you more than me. Stay happy, stay healthy, and keep cooking delicious, diabetic-friendly meals. So until next time, chef it up.